I am a construction millwright, and I have been a millwright for 35 years. I was the first female construction millwright in Canada. And I am part of the millwright union, which is actually part of the carpenters union, which seems weird maybe, but a millwright is a mechanic, except we don't work on cars. We work on any other type of industrial machines. But back in history, we were the people that did the mills like you see at Pioneer Village, and those were made of wood. So that's how we got to be part of the Carpenters Union, although I have no idea what to do with woodworking now. Yeah, so within the Carpenters Union, they have an organization specifically to support women in the trades, which is called Sisters in the Brotherhood. And for the Millwright Regional Council of Canada, I am the chair of Sisters in the Brotherhood, as well as other things that I do as a millwright.
My name is Anna Xing, and I work for Prevention Link as communication outreach specialist. And I moved to Canada in 2011, and boy, I was lucky. I landed right into labor movement. It was the perfect place to be. I started my journey at OSSTF, Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation. That's where I became involved with my union, COPE 343, and also been exposed to everything like workers' rights, workers' struggle. And eventually I moved to Ontario Federation of Labor and the amazing project Prevention Link, which is so dear to my heart. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Okay, I'm Carmine Fiore. I'm currently the Chief of Health and Safety for Toronto Civic Employees Union Local 416. We look after municipal workers in Toronto. We're about 6,800 strong. Also, I'm a Prevention Link trainer, certified now. Well, I've been certified for a while, so I'm the trainer. I don't have a picture up there, but you see me in person now, so there you go. I've been doing health and safety for years, since day one. That was 32 years later in the city. Hopefully I retire soon. I'm glad to be here, and hopefully I can help you guys with any questions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Carrington, and so I started in Ministry of Labor, so 15 years, supporting the occupational health and safety inspectors for Toronto East. So doing a lot of their support, getting them prepared for court, their field visits, monitoring their tickets and all that kind of stuff. So that's how I got into construction. Probably about 3 years ago, I guess everybody, including myself, kind of got we're all sitting at home and I need a change or something to do differently. So I reached out to a colleague of mine and expressed that I wanted to do something more than what I'm doing as admin support. And at that time, he directed me to my director today. And I work for a company now called Flatiron Dragados, which is a civil engineering company. I support him as the health and safety coordinator for Canada. And so it's nice that I've had the balance between government as well as the private sector. So I'm very happy and pleased to be here in order to just empower women.
Grand Rising, everyone. I say Grand Rising, could say good afternoon, could say good morning, but Grand Rising for me means that we are all collectively rising up and in one. And I believe that the conversations that we're here today are so important. I've heard people that are looking to get into the trades, people that have been in the trades, people that are part of all organizations. I'm Christine Macklin. I am, the Secretary-Treasurer for the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, which represents trade unionists across the whole country. That's in all sectors. Doesn't mean they're all trades, but they're different units. I come out of Unifor. I was the Human Rights Director for the National. It's the largest private sector union representing 315,000 members. So representing skilled trades, representing your people that are welcoming you on to Air Canada, driving your via train, building your cars. We say from birth, bringing you into this planet and digging your grave and putting you into the ground. So it was a vast sector, but I actually personally come out of the auto sector. I do have a background in corrections, but the auto was where my father was a 38-year auto worker at the Bramley Assembly Plant. So I come out of there as an auto worker. And I was the first black woman elected in Windsor, Ontario at Local 195, which is the oldest UAW, the very first CAW. Yeah. It just took them 81 years to elect me. But when I did take that role, I became responsible for all of my units, which was about 5,000 members. But I was their primary harassment investigator. So I did harassment investigators for the national, for my local. So the national realized, hey, maybe we should take this one up. So I became the human rights director for 315,000 members. And I was solely responsible for doing a lot of the harassment investigations, but I also brought my lived experience. As a black woman in a workplace, I understand what it's like to maneuver these spaces. And in trades, it overlaps. I know I heard someone I was talking down at the social, they're like, I'm not really in trades, but yes, you are. You interact, you engage. If someone comes onto your property to do the rebuild, you're there. So we are interconnected. Now I have stepped away from that position at the National Union, and I am running my own business, Lift Every Voice Consulting, which now I do all equity, diversity, inclusion, mediation, harassment investigations. Both Canada, US, and soon to be Bermuda. So that's it.
Now, I asked everybody to introduce themselves because sometimes when you read a bio, people kind of get lost, and the bio doesn't actually capture who they are as a person. So that's why I asked you guys all to introduce yourself. Because they're probably like, I sent my bio, why isn't it being read? Sorry. So I wanted to ask the first, well, Christine already touched on it, is harassment. Oftentimes women have no idea in the workplace if they are being harassed, what harassment looks like, mutual respect. So Christine, this is for Christine and Anna, actually, my question to you is, what do people need to know when they are reporting harassment at the workplace?
Well, the first thing is you need to report it. And the reason why I say that is because more than likely in workplaces, if you look at the statistics, people will not report harassment, the first incident, the second incident, the third incident. They usually eventually report it at the point that they're ready to exit the workplace. So at that point, they've been living in trauma. So what I would say to anyone about reporting is you need to know who you need to report to. Don't go talking to your friend on the line. Don't go talking to your friend at the job site. Don't start, I call it Team Maple Leafs versus Team Montreal. What is it, Montreal? People think that they can go and collect people. And I understand why, because you want that support, but that isn't the way to do it. So you need to know who you need to report to, and it should be posted, and if it's not posted, you need to go to your union steward and they need to figure it out. There is a confidentiality piece that is essential to that, that you need to understand that when you tell them, you can't go out and repeat it to wherever your friends to say, I just told the union steward XYZ, because there's an investigation process and we want it to be a fair process. The reality is, though, that there needs to be supports within the workplace. Make sure if you have a representative, I was a women's advocate and a racial justice advocate, which means that I dealt with all those forms of harassment, so I was the designate person on the union side. Is it the management? Is your policy that it's a management person? Ultimately, it is the employer's legal responsibility to prevent harassment in the workplace, to address harassment in the workplace, and to remedy harassment in the workplace. They're the ones running the show. The union is legally obligated to uphold all laws, which means that they need to uphold their collective agreement, and they also need to uphold the policies that are in place. But I do want to say one thing before I pass it on. The law is the bare minimum. We talk about the law like it's up here. It's the ground that we're standing on. So I believe that every workplace, and this is why I went into my own business, I believe every workplace has an obligation to do better than the law.
And for Anna, through Prevention Link, because you guys have these cute little pocketbooks. If you haven't picked them up yet, you should take each and every one of them home and bring it to work with you. It's like the best pocket resource you could ever have, I promise you. But if you can just talk to us about the human rights process in reporting harassment.
We don't do like casework, but yeah, in this pocket you will find all the information what constitutes harassment. Our booklet mostly talks about a Ontario Human Rights Code, and what to do is like with contact information, what constitutes harassment, and where you can turn to, how to report. It's basically what Christine said. Yeah, document and go to a steward representative. When I was a steward myself, I did tackle also harassment as well, and it's very disheartening to see people struggling. And in this booklet, yes, Human Rights Code covers harassment, but also Health and Safety Act also now covers harassment. And as you said, it's not enough, because under Health and Safety, you should have policies. You must have policies, but what do you do if something happens? There's no remedies. There's no, it's like really, you're still left alone. So Human Rights Code is something also to turn to, not just Health and Safety Act, but also remember about Human Rights Code. And there's always help available if you don't have a steward. You can go to a legal clinic, and a lot of legal support is actually either affordable or even free. From communities, so always remember you're not alone.
So it's always been mentioned that when women are in the workforce that are dominated by men, that they typically feel unsafe to report unsafe work, or they get told they're shit disturbers because they're bringing up issues and conflicts. So Carmi, my question for you as the man on this panel is, through the Occupational Health and Safety Act, how can women best report these types of behaviors at the workplace, and what steps can they follow through with their health and safety?
I deal with this quite a bit in our workplaces. We're diverse in terms of the jobs that we do. We stem from gardeners to paramedics to maintenance water workers to asphalt workers. The workforce is diverse in terms of the gender. Some of it's more populated with women, some of it's more with men, but at the end of the day, I deal with everybody. The first thing is reporting it, 100%. The sister made mention to that. And a lot of times there's stigma. They're afraid, reprisal. Who do I talk to? There should be a list of names on your board. Half the time people don't know where the board is. Awareness is number one. If a member or worker is aware of what's available to them, the employer will probably take a better approach at things. But if they don't know, oh well, that's how they think it. But the unfortunate part with my employer, which is the City of Toronto, they have all these intelligent individuals working downtown. They have all these people that analyze stuff, but at the end of the day, we struggle with the same problems. It's called awareness, and people need the proper representation. So having said that, the internal responsibility has to be met. Reporting procedures, who do I report to? Is it a supervisor? Is it a foreperson? Is it a member of my union? Is it a local member? Is it a steward? Again, these are key things that people need to know. And if you don't know, ask. That should be done in orientation. I'm not sure if a lot of you individuals have that annually, but in the City of Toronto we do. And we try to involve ourselves with that as much as we can so our members are aware of what's available to them, right? Again, if they have the tools to do the job, they can't dispute it. I hope that helps.
So my next question is for Lisa and Rita. When it comes to PPE, how do you navigate that in your workplace, one? And also, how can you refuse unsafe work if you do not have the proper PPE?
Well, with the work that we do, and I had explained it in our group discussion, I think that first off, management, leadership needs to be involved. It stems from leadership and then filters down to below. If leadership is not advocating the people below, then you're leaving them to struggle. First and foremost, and having to make these decisions, right? You have to lead by example, which is very important. The other thing too is that for us, as we're starting construction projects and stuff like that, female representation when you're building the project, which includes PPE. Females that are, I think it's very important that he talked about, because I used to work for Ministry of Labor, the bureaucrats. There are a lot of people that are sitting at the top with these suits and making these decisions in terms of what would be best for the project or service or whatever the case may be. But they're not actually talking to the people who are actually doing the work. And I think for PPE, especially as females or whatever, there needs to be female representation, females sitting at the table talking about, hey, this doesn't work for me. This is what works, right? Because you're out there, you live it, you breathe it, you do everything in it, right? So why not? You're the subject matter expert in regards to the PPE because you're out there using it, not the person that's sitting at the table, the bureaucrat with the tie, right? And I find that it's always a struggle. And I know for my organization or whatever, I'm a little bold, and I am that person that will go into your face and have conversation or rally up the troops and see things and say like, hey, this is not right, you know? And the other thing, what was the second part of the question?
So just if you didn't have proper PPE, how do you go about refusing unsafe work?
Well, you have the right to refuse. I mean, number one thing is we don't, I know for myself in terms of education, education is very key. You need to know your rights. You need to educate your employees of their rights, especially just from the time they start in, is telling them what their rights are, having visibility on the Joint Health and Safety Boards, reminding them constantly, this is what's here. It's not a matter you walk in and we're not talking about it again. We're talking about it every 6 months. We're talking about it every single year. We're sending you that training so it's in your face all the time, so you can't circle back around and say you didn't know. The other thing that we do as a company, we audit. Okay, so our ISO audits, our core audits. I am the auditor, and I'm about to start one soon. So I am that person that will go around and make sure that, hey guys, here's the reminder, here it is. So when when I am having conversation with you, my thing is, number one, is when I'm having conversation with you, I'd like to have that conversation one time, okay? If I have to talk to you several times, there's something that's missing that I'm not showing you, and I need to understand what that is. And everybody learns differently, which is important, and I need to understand your learning.
And years ago, maybe longer, I actually went through the process to become a trainer, and I teach working at heights, and it was only during my Train the Trainer course that I even heard about the fact that there is specially designed women's harnesses that change where the forces go in the case of a fall so that they don't dislocate a woman's hip or worse. And so now that I learned that, and now I'm a trainer, I teach that to all of our members who take my courses. And although very rarely is there another woman in the class, but at least I have the foremen and people who do have that responsibility to make the decision. And I tell them, you know, if you have a woman on your crew, you need to have this type of PPE for working at heights. And then when we have the sisters in the brotherhood that meet, and especially the new apprentice sisters, and I make sure that they know if you're on a job and they don't have the right kind of equipment, then you have to tell them you won't do the job. And it might be very simple, like just, oh yeah, okay, we'll, you know, get you to do something else, and in the meantime, then therefore we'll order something for you. But if there is some sort of pushback, because of, you know, maybe financial, like, man, do we really have to buy a women's harness or whatever? If that were to happen, then, like you said, that it is the law that you have to be provided with the right equipment to work safe. And so if they're not providing that, and nothing is really being done about it, ultimately it can get to that right to refuse unsafe work. Most employers wouldn't want it to get to that because then that's a whole process. But if that's as far as it has to go before they'll supply what the women need, then it has to go there.
Can you explain some of the steps for us on when you get injured at the workplace, what you should do next?
If you get injured in the workplace, first, yeah, document. then you need to report your injury immediately to a supervisor, manager, and then you need to seek medical assistance right away, whether on the work site or if it's something more grave, go to the hospital. And you need to fill the form number 6 for the workers, 7 for the employers,
And 8 for the doctor.
8 for the doctor. And
I can help you.
And 6, 7, 8. 6 for the workers, 7 for employers, 8 for the doctors. And unfortunately, we always have to advocate for ourselves, whether women at the workplace or any workers. So keep in mind that healthcare providers have to fill it, and sometimes they forget or don't know. So bring it up, advocate for yourself. And there are deadlines. So sometimes, like you injured, you don't think about it or you don't know about it, and then a few months later, someone tells you, "Oh, you should have filed a WSIB form." You're like, "Oh my God, yeah!" And you have 6 months. 6 months to report the injury. Yes, please.
Yeah, so I'd like to add to this because I instruct these courses. So she's absolutely correct in terms of the timelines. It's very crucial that when you do experience an injury, work-related, that you do fill out that Form 6 as soon as possible. Do not wait for the 6 months. You're allowed that time, but the board will frown upon the fact, why did it take so long? This is what they're going to say to you. Chances are you might get your claim denied too. Again, time is an essence. The other thing is the Form 6 is the responsibility of the worker, not the employer. So don't feel compelled to submit it to them. You only submit it to them because of the finance purposes. So they got to coincide the pay. Other than that, you're responsible to submit it to the board. Again, this is stuff you should know, and if you don't know, ask the questions. That's about it for me. Yeah, here you go.
And importantly, report it to the Ministry of Labor, okay? You want them to know, even if it's something as small, you should report it to the Ministry of Labor and let them know what's happening, right? Let them come and investigate, right? More eyes on it, better than just your employer, okay? And you should be calling right away because you don't want them to just pop up because they'll find out, right? They will just show up. And I was one of those people that actually got the phone call and would then put it in the system and then dispatch the inspector to now go to the site, okay? So you don't want an inspector to find out later when the injury is much worse. You want them to find out as soon as it happens, right? And that will be your biggest saving grace ever.
Back to.
We'll get to questions. I have 2 more questions.
She's got one more point.
And then we'll get, do you want to add something?
Yeah, just reminded me that if there's a situation that happens, we have like a guideline on our website about how to report hazardous incidents, which you can also, as a worker.
She's jumping ahead. She's jumping ahead.
Unprepared. I don't remember though. Maybe Carmen, you can jump in if it's confidential, if it's anonymous or not. But you have the right and actually responsibility to report this to the government.
The job?
Hazardous incidents. Yeah.
So
You can be anonymous.
you can be anonymous. You don't have to indicate who's calling.
So in the system, when you're calling, when the person is taking the phone call on the contact center, they will ask you whether or not you want to be anonymous, right?
I always
And
put my name in. They never put it in.
so there is a section, I can personally tell you, there is a section which you click off anonymous. Your information is there, but just so for future reference, right? Just so they have it in the report. But you can be anonymous. So there's no fear of calling. Right? You should be calling, but at the end of the day, you can do it anonymously, right?
It's okay. I just want to say this. Like, this is a slogan that I use in everything, mediation, harassment, and I always use it in WSIB. People are not the problem is the problem. So you need to report it. And if you need to report it anonymously, that's okay. But think of hindsight. If you don't report it and someone gets injured or you get further injured, Then you're like, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. And I hate to say this to people, but if we don't report it and it's a fatality or a major issue where someone is, lose a body part, I know that nobody in this room, your mental health would put you at ease. It's better to report it and they fix the problem or they solve that it's not a problem. So remember, people are not the problem is the problem.
So my question for Christine, and then I have a question for Carmi, and then we'll take questions, is for you, Christine. In every workplace, the process is different when filing complaints for harassment, mutual respect, discrimination on the workplace. What are the basic steps if they don't know the policy, if they are not aware? What are the basic steps that a woman should know? I shouldn't say a woman only, but anyone should know, a person should know, when reporting any terms of the policy being breached on mutual respect, harassment, or discrimination at work?
So, a vexatious comment or conduct that is known or reasonably known to be unwelcome. That is the definition. You can make it and elaborate it. And I always like to break it down when I do training. What does vexatious mean? Well, my dad was a Jamaican man, and he would say, yeah, vex me. And I can tell you it wasn't a positive thing. Right? Irritate, annoy, or distress. So remember that, right? Irritate, annoy, or distress. Something that somebody says, but not everyone's verbal. Something that someone does that is reasonable. Now, reasonable, I always love the law because, I break it down. I love the law, but it's not so clear. So here's my definition of reasoning, and this is what I do in my training, is would you say and do what you're doing to your boss's 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 boss? Now, who is that boss's 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 boss? Unlikely it's your supervisor. It's probably the customer ordering the contract on the site. Would you say, I walk up to the boss's boss's boss and say that? And if your answer is like, no, then don't do it. And it shouldn't be happening at work. If your answer is like, I'm not sure, you're lying to yourself because you know the answer is no. And if your answer is like, I don't really care, I can go down the street and get a job, newsflash. This is a federal and provincial legislation. They might alter the words, but remember, something to irritate, annoy, distress that a reasonable person wouldn't do, and is unwelcome. There's the big word. It's unwelcome. Now, what I like to say to people is the person I was, when I was 17, which was 10 years ago. No. No. My stretch marks are older than that. No, I'm good. No, but the person that I was is not the person I am today. So harassment isn't so cut and dry, right? So when you're dealing with harassment and when you're looking at that and you don't know the policy, I just gave you the definition. Are you clear as the ocean now? You don't have to know all the legal context and jargon, but you know that it irritated, annoyed, or distressed someone that was unwelcome, right? And that you wouldn't do it to your boss's boss's boss. Whether you are the person receiving it, that type of behavior, or whether you are the person watching it, you have the right to report that. This bystander training that everyone's jumped on, newsflash, like you can't say, I see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. We all have a legal obligation. I said to you earlier about the union and the employer. Well, the union is not your union steward. The union is, if you're covered by that collective agreement, that is you. Every person has a responsibility to address it. Now, if you don't know the policy, now you know the policy. I did print up a little checklist that I asked if people could hand out. I just want you to know this is not like a telltale sign of everything around harassment and discrimination, but it has some best practices. Because remember I said the law is the floor? It's the bare minimal. There's things that you can be doing. So knowing the policy is the law. If they don't have it posted, they should have it posted, then you tell your union steward. They need it posted. They need to know who you report your harassment to, because I know we talked about this on this panel, but federally, they actually have to have a list. So are you a federal employer? Are you a provincial employer? Because you also need to know that, because there's steps that are taken differently. And I don't expect you to know everything, but I really appreciate Prevention Link, because I know I did my WSIB and everything through there, the training, right? And when I was the vice president, I'm going to tell you, it's essentially, you don't have to know the law, you just need to know where to find the information. Okay? Last thing, I'm sorry, I know I speak a lot, and this is why you don't give me a mic, but like when I talk about harassment, we were just in Florida about 2 weeks ago for the Coalition of Black Trade Unions. I need you to think of harassment like this. Employers don't like to say, oh, we have a zero tolerance policy, we don't have harassment here, I want my gold sticker. It's just like in Florida. Any body of water has a gator. And if you assume that there's not, you're wrong. So any company that thinks that they do not have harassment in their workplace, they are wrong. And they have a legal obligation to prevent, respond, and address. And I also want to just kind of flag this and why I really need you to take those lists. There's a trauma-informed approach about it. I've been subjected to harassment. I have done thousands of investigations, right, wrong, different, and ugly, right? Like it's a learning process to do investigations. But when I went through it, someone who had done thousands of investigations, who knows the process, it took me 30 days to write my complaint. And I cried, I was emotional, because I was putting my whole heart into it. And one of the things about trauma-informed training when you're dealing with harassment is not everyone can put pen to paper. They may never bring it back to you. That was a case in a lot of situations. And there was times when I did harassment investigations where I would sit down with the person and I would write it for them and they would read it and sign it and take off what wasn't appropriate. But a lot of times they were like, I never thought of that until I just said it. And this is why it's so important that even though you're recording it, know who you can report to, know who the trusted people are. Now, if your representative or your management is blabbermouth, which I'm going to be real with you, they exist. They say, I'm also a part of the Association of Workplace Investigators, which is, but let me tell you something, we can never guarantee that people will not speak. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't come without consequence. And so I just want you to know that when you're dealing with harassment, when you're dealing with it and you don't know that I just gave it to you, what is it? A vexatious comment or conduct that a reasonable person ought to know is unwelcome, right? And that is important. And I just want you to know that your mental well-being is health and safety. Human rights is health and safety. Anti-Black racism in workplaces is harassment and discrimination. That is, you're seeing record numbers of things that are happening. And I want to give the trades a huge shout out because I did see a case where there was anti-Black racism on a job site. And the union and company collectively said no. And they found out who the person was, and they were removed from that site. And that is the actions that need to be taken to eliminate the harm. Thank you.
So knowing your resources. So if you don't know reprisals, you can contact the Ministry of Labor in regards to that. They do investigate that. The only thing is that anytime you're going to bring a reprisal to Ministry of Labor, it is best to somehow resolve it with your employer. Document that you've tried and attempted to resolve it with your employer, evidence. And if you feel it's not to your satisfaction, then you bring it to the Ministry of Labor, so at least you have concrete evidence to bring to the inspector that I have tried on my end. The other part is employment standards, okay? So they're like a band of thieves too. So they come out just like Ministry of Labor construction inspectors. So they do come out, and so you can contact them. They have their number. Contact them, speak to them, and bring your concerns forward. The Human Rights Tribunal is another good resource in order to bring your concerns forward. But again, the key thing is evidence. Document everything that has happened, transpired, instead of the he said, she said, and all of that kind of stuff. Because once you have evidence, that's it, right?
Perfect. So my last question, and then we'll go to you all, is for Carmine. A lot of us women, it was spoken about earlier with Rock when she did the panel about diseases in the workplace. And sometimes going into trades, you have old buildings, you're exposed to chemicals in the area that are industrial. How then can you report those claims?
So I also failed to mention that I'm part of OCAL, which is an organization that deals with diseases and conditions of the workplace for, the betterment of our members. So we have a few concerns going forward with my employer, and one of them is occupational disease. So what happened is the exposure. So the first thing that needs to happen is get as much information as you can from the people you work with. A lot of times they don't want to disclose it because under the Confidentiality Act, I get it. But if for instance, if I have a rash of individuals that are experiencing, let's say, I don't know, skin irritations. Why all of a sudden is that happening in the past 3-4 years? Because is there a problem? Like she mentioned, the problem's the problem. We try to fix the problem. Reporting is number one. Even if it's an exposure and you don't feel that it affected you physically, but you were exposed. Fill out a Form 6, occupational exposure disease. There you go. That gets the ball rolling. And once you have a certain amount of claims submitted, Ministry of Labor gets involved to say, hey, we have a problem, because they get all the reports. Just like the hearing impairment piece, which the city right now is under the microscope on because we got X amount of claims. Now the ministry's involved. Again, there's levels of government that will deal with it, but it starts with the employer. Make them aware. Be aware of your Joint Health and Safety Committee. Who's on it? Is there an actual board? Who do I speak to? By law, obligation, there has to be a list of names. Like the sister mentioned, there's got to be a list. Contact information is key. The unions are relevant. Regardless if you got a union or not, there has to be a committee in place for 1 to 20, right? That's the rule. Even if you had 5 members, you should have a representative per se, right? That's the law. So you should be aware of all these things in your workplace. And at the very least, I mean, reach out to Prevention Link. They have a number you can contact. If I had some cards, I'd give them out. I help all unions. I'm on, this is what I like to do. I like to come out here on a Saturday and hang out with you people. Again, but I'll be like, kidding aside, this is more of a passion for me because, it's personal. So I lost my dad last year, so it's a little emotional. But anyway, so yes, we're here to help. So any information is necessary.
Thank you. Questions? Oh, no, Tanisha.
All right. So if you're on the job site, you get injured, but you think it's nothing, simple thing, and you allow it to go by. All right? Yes, and time passes. Is there any way that you can bring that back and, start the process or something?
Is that a Ministry of Labor and Health and Safety question?
It's probably all 3 so that's a good one. That happens. Yeah, so pass the mic. Don't give it to her. No, anyway. Great question. Happens a lot in my world. I have individuals that are working outside, let's say, right? So all of a sudden there's a soreness that develops. It's probably part of the job. Maybe I turned a little, I twisted, and it's fine in a couple days. A couple weeks, I can't get out of bed. Now what do? Right? Report. Regardless of, what you got to try to understand is accuracy. Around the time when it happened and how it happened and what were the conditions of the job that day. Was it, I don't know, were you operating equipment that you usually do or you don't? How were you? Was there somebody around? With as much information as possible. Because it will benefit to your claim, because WSIB doesn't really care. If they can decline a claim, they will. The unfortunate part, they're an agency for the government. Government doesn't want to spend the money. It's an unfortunate reality. If they can reduce the amount of claims that they got to spend, it's more money for the stakeholders in that, because there's 2 levels, right? So again, it's doable, but make sure you have your information correct. And if there's a witness, please put their name down. And a lot of the problem is the witnesses don't want to come forward. Oh, I don't remember. I don't recall. Meanwhile, you were holding the other end of that piece of wood or something. Again, this happens a lot, guys. So make sure that there's information provided.
Oh, what's that chart called in the workplace on the Health and Safety Board? Even if you get a paper cut or you banged your toe on something. There's a chart in your workplace. When you get a simple injury at work, you just write it down on the date.
Only?
Yep. And then your supervisor has 3 days to
48 hours.
48 hours to sign off that they acknowledge that incident.
Want to add to that?
Sorry, is there? Oh.
Well, I'll give you a scenario. I had an inspector, which he thought it was nothing. So he got in a car accident with his vehicle. Somebody rear-ended him. And he came to work and showing us pictures. And we're like, how did you survive that, Jeff? And we were like, go home. And he's like, no, I'm fine. And 2 days later, it affected him. And he was out for 3 years. Right? So it is important. It doesn't matter. It could be like a little cut. It could be a little stub toe. It doesn't matter. Report it, right? It's better to report it while it's fresh and and you know all the details, opposed to 6 months later where now you're suffering and you can't remember any of the details, and then nobody can help you, right? So it's best to just report it. There's no shame. There's nothing. Just say what you have to say, and that's the end of that, and let them deal with it.
I know for women on the job site and stuff, you don't feel confident reporting some things because of fear of losing your job. Yep. How do you navigate that? What's the best way to kind of like, report and feel comfortable, feel safe about not being, having, your employer retaliate against you or something like that?
Yeah. We're going to pass this down to the sisterhood sister.
And then I'll help you out with the rest of it.
All right, so my world being in construction and a member of a union, so we do have a lot of people stand behind us. So if there's a problem, we can go directly to the problem if someone is that, strong enough to do that mentally, right? But some people are, they're scared of doing that. But then we have, many times the supervisor is also a member of our union. So that's another, in some worlds, I guess that's not a good thing, but in our world, I think it works well because now they also kind of have to answer to the union if they don't do the right thing. And then, if nobody on that actual job site is of any help, then there's upper layers again at the union hall. And maybe my union is just better than most. I don't know the other ones, but I know that if there has been things reported to our business representatives of a problem of harassment, they're pretty much out at that job site that day or the next day and tuning up the person that's in charge as well as the person who was responsible. Another sort of not the direction you might want it to go, but ultimately can help the person that's got the issue happening, is that we are what they call a hiring hall union. Most construction trades are. So what that means is, I guess, maybe it represents similar to a temp agency, I guess, because most of our work, we fix it or install it or build it and then we're done. So we aren't permanently at any particular place. So in that respect, you can say to yourself, if this is not that big a deal and I probably never work with that guy again, then you can grit your teeth and get through it. But if there's a safety issue and they're not taking it seriously enough, we have that right to refuse unsafe work, which is always better than working unsafely and getting hurt. And ultimately, if they do lay you off, it's sometimes hard to prove that it's because of that, because there's always going to be layoffs. This job's ending. We don't need that many people. So it's kind of hard for people in my world to really prove, you laid me off because I said that was unsafe and I didn't want to do it. But maybe they did. But even so you get laid off. The union hall, as a hiring hall, will send you to another job, and now, at least you're not working for that idiot that wouldn't make that safe.
Your question?
Thank you.
Hi, so my question was, in terms of the Form 6, let's say hypothetically you get injured on the job, you go home, and then somehow you now become unconscious so your employer doesn't know that you are unconscious. Who can fill out the Form 6 for you? Because now no one's aware that you're actually
That's a good question.
not okay.
Yep.
I'll give you the mic.
That's a good question. So let me get this. So you're at work and you experience what? So you got a head injury, now you develop concussion, you're out. Who reports that? Great question. Typically what will happen is once you hit the emergency room, they got to figure out, what happened, obviously. When you come to, what if you don't remember, right? There's another problem. So what do we do now? The unfortunate part is we don't have any tools to say it happened or it didn't happen because that was on the individual, right? That's where it gets tricky to establish what happened, right? Did you have something?
Medical stuff, like a doctor would report it immediately. If
Correct.
you were injured at work and you declared that you were injured at
Yeah,
work
but-
and you didn't think it was an injury, they will report it.
They will. They're obligated by law under the Form 8, but you're right. What if you can't talk and you can't say anything?
The person that brought you to the hospital is also reporting things.
They typically, but what if you're by yourself and you got to call 911 or
It's not like a physical injury. It's
yeah,
fumes or something that is not
like a noxious and it knocks you out? Yeah. So somebody, it's got to be reported. But that's a tricky one.
Doesn't mean you shouldn't report it.
Colleague also, they could report because whomsoever is an eyewitness at that
If.
moment, they have a responsibility by law to report.
Yeah. So I'll go one step further. What about everybody else that was working in that location too? Right. So the biggest thing, and I don't want to take this into the next one, but the biggest thing is reporting is necessary in order to establish some type of process to start rolling, right? If nobody reports, and the other thing that I experience in my world is everybody's afraid. There's a fear factor, right? You're a troublemaker. You're in the union. That's what we get from management. But you know, the best supervisors ever were former union people, right? This is my experience. So how do you label people as a troublemaker? We're trying to get representation for what we're obligated to, our rights. And this is what they disregard. Maybe they shouldn't be management. How's that? Sorry.
Any other questions? You have a question?
Sorry.
Comment.
Yeah.
You want me to do a question?
No, there's questions. No, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So for me, when I was the co-chair manager for health and safety at Rogers, when we had a scenario like such where there was nobody to report, the investigation is rolling. So that means now we're going to ask people who were witnesses. The camera also is also one of the witnesses to really try to find out and pinpoint what is the issue. As a community board, we will also discuss and go through the incident and see also who else can we tackle and ask questions and get the answers. From there, when the ministry arrives, we have all our eye on the dot. Oh, no, point. Sorry, French. I'm trying to think, yes. Yes.
But I want to add too, sometimes in those types of scenarios as well, I've had police officers call.
Yes.
Okay, so the police officers, doctors or whatever, I've spoken to them on behalf of the injured worker, right? And so that starts the ball rolling. And then by that time when I get, even if it's little information, I input whatever information I can get in order to then bring that information to the inspector. And then it's the inspector's responsibility then to go and then see if they can speak to that individual. If not, then go to the employer or the constructor and then have that level of conversation. So the ball is rolling somewhere if that person cannot speak. But the important thing is that it has to be reported, right?
And we have our last question.
Let's say you witness an injury happen. Let's say you witness an injury happen, and the person that got injured is like, "Well, I don't want to report this." Are you like supposed
gotta
to,
report.
or like do you go the step further and do it for them, or like how does that work?
So that's another good one because I have that.
No, just talk loud, Karma.
Yeah, so I'll talk about it. So that has happened in the past in my world too. Like we've had individuals that got injured, but they didn't want to report it because they didn't want to get in trouble. But somebody else witnessed it and said, "Hey, you need to fill out forms."
Yeah, let's say they were wearing a PPE. I have to report the
That's the other flip to the coin. PPE part. Why weren't they wearing the PPE? The employer not provided. Was it not provided to them and told them how to wear it safely? Again, these are litigating factors to that. But yes, the part about not wanting to report, a lot of the members that I work with do that. They're scared. What are you afraid of?
Like, let's say the police do come and you did witness it, but you didn't report it. Is that something that you could be in like trouble for, like not reporting it?
Yes. Oh,
So,
Rita.
so yeah. Go ahead, sister.
Okay, it's actually in the Ontario safety regulations that you are breaking the law if you're aware of a hazard and you don't report it. So it's like that. And also, there was a situation I heard about maybe 2 years ago where an iron worker, I believe, fell to his death because he was not wearing the proper type of equipment. And in the investigation, apparently the coroner's inquest found that people on that site had said, yeah, I saw him, I saw he wasn't wearing the right stuff, but I didn't want to say because, you know, I didn't want to make a fuss. And so imagine his family having to deal with the knowledge that somebody could have said something and they didn't.
Sorry, Christine wants to add something, and then we'll take one more question.
And I want to, because I have to already, harassment is an injury, right? And I see this a lot with harassment. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, because I'm watching it. You are legally obligated, regardless if you are on the receiving end, to report it. And actually, I have dealt with many employers that then have disciplined people because they've been bystanders in the situation. Because if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. And I know that it's very difficult because you're kind of teeter-tottering on your friendships or your relationships with people. But remember, the purpose in life is to walk through life with no harm. And if it saves people, because I've also seen people later on say, I'm glad you spoke up for me, even though I was the worst person criticizing you for speaking up. But it's doing the right thing, because when you go home, it's your mental well-being if you didn't speak up that you got to deal with.
So I know this was a juicy panel. Maybe we'll have another one in the fall. Who knows? Tell your friend to tell a friend to tell another friend. But I do want to say thank you all for coming. We are done for time. I know I said one more question, but we have a presentation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is knowledge. Do not forget. When the next panel comes, tell them to register. This is key. Downstairs is a lot of Prevention Link booklets. I encourage you all to take one to your workplace. And if you want their contact, you can reach out to them and speak to them after here. Yes? Thank you very much.
Take a picture.
Photo? You want us to stand up or? I just muted it.